he is. You did it. You made it to the end of a crappy year. And it was a crappy year. Don't let anybody ever tell you otherwise. This economy is just... But you did it. You made it through. Here we are. The last week. And I don't think it can get worse. So I'm positive next year we're going to see a little bit of a upturn. It's got to go up. Everything's got to go up a bit. We've had like 3 years of just this. And I got a feeling we're going to start to turn the corner a little bit. So hang in there. Next year is going to be better. New year, new you. Business should improve. Economy should improve. You should improve. Your mood will improve. I think we're going to have a better year next year. But you did it. That's the most important part, is you made it through. It wasn't easy. Not so great. But you made it through. And now hopefully we'll be blasting into a better 2025. So here we are. Just having some agame. A-game. It's not focusing. Refuse to focus. A-game. Sugar-free. I drink this when I'm on my hikes. I don't know how I started drinking this like a couple of years ago. And today I was out, I really didn't drink anything, so I was like very parched now. So I'm going to be drinking more than normal and annoying you in this show. But thanks for stopping by. If you're new here, my name is Michael. I'm a women's photographer from New Jersey. Worked with hundreds and hundreds of women through the course of my career. And we have a little show where we answer questions about boudoir photography. You'd think it would be such a simple and straightforward situation to go and hire a photographer, but you'd be wrong. Wrong. It's a nightmare. It's a mess. So we're here to help you get some good information so you can make some smart choices when you go out to hire your boudoir photographer, because we want you to have a good session and look back at your photos and go, oh, and have a good time. And that's what this is all about. So every week we come on and answer a question related to boudoir photography. So thanks for joining us. And it's an interesting show. Hopefully you've been learning a lot. I know I've been learning a lot doing this and talking about wrapping up the year. We didn't start quite in the beginning of the year. I started in February. It was either in February or early March. So it's almost been a year for the show. It's kind of going strong. Kind of gotten that weekly groove to do this. I don't think it was perfect every single week. Some weeks I'm like super busy and out and I couldn't get to a show or whatever. But for the most part, we did a pretty good job. Got a lot of questions. Got a lot of information out there. A lot of shows. We got a lot of listeners. I'm like surprised. People are listening to me? So weird. You're weird. You're weird for listening to this show. But if we're learning something, that's the most important part. And we want everybody, like I said, to make smart decisions. And if you haven't listened to last week's show about can a man be a good boudoir photographer? A man. Can you really go to a man? These sexist people who think that men can't be good boudoir photographers in 2025. He's a man. I was going to hire him. I was going to hire this photographer for boudoir, but it was a man. How can a man know how to take photos of women? So we chatted a little bit about that last week. Interesting show to listen to. So if you're bored and you're driving, cue that episode up and give that one a listen. This week, again, we have another topic I've talked about quite a bit. It's one of my more favorite topics to talk about. So we're going to be getting into our questions sort of this week. And all right, I'll tell you what it is. So our question for this week is, should I book a boudoir photographer for my OnlyFans content? Is that something you want to do? Is that a smart choice? Should you do it? Is it going to help you out? Is it not going to help you out? That's what we're going to chat a bit about today. and get you some information on that for those who were considering, were online creators or were thinking about maybe going to a women's photographer to help create some of their content. So that's what we're going to be chatting a little bit about this week. And, I guess I don't even know when that all started. It had to be at least 5 years ago now, whenever that kicked in and women started coming into sessions in my universe and started talking about that. And I had no idea what the heck it even was at first. And people would come in and book with me and, I'm using this for my OnlyFans, and I'm using this for my OnlyFans. I think that was like peak OnlyFans, where that was like in 2020 or so. Geez, that's like a number of years ago now. And so people started coming out of the woodwork and hiring me and chatting about this in the session. I had no idea what it was at first, and I don't think I even looked it up at first. But then as I started to have more people coming in and talking about that, I started to take a look at what it was, learn a little bit more about it. And then over the years, I really don't know how many people I've worked with. There's been like a lot of people who have come in over the years since then and hired me to do work, whether it's photos or videos or whatever. We even got into a little bit into helping people, set up their accounts and get the right header photos in there and creating that for them and so forth. So it's been interesting. So I learned a little bit about boudoir or OnlyFans. So I think, what the heck would you know about it? I know more than you. I know more than you do. So we're going to chat a little bit about this today. Should you do it? Is it worth it? And then little teaser here, it really, in the case of hiring someone to do that type of content, it really boils down to a cost benefit kind of a situation. So we're going to get into detail a little bit about this today, and hopefully you learn something here and it's helpful for you if you may have been considering hiring a boudoir photographer local to you to help produce some content. So have a little bit of fun and chat about this today. And I think really when people create an account or thinking about creating an account, or they may have an account, they get that urge or that initial impression that, wow, I'm starting this account, or I really want to go up to the next level, and I need a professional photographer. I need someone that's going to take some great photos of me to boost my account up. I want to make some money. I want to get out there, and that's what's going to help me turn the corner and start making some money or getting more followers or more subscribers. And, I think that when someone contacts me now and starts talking about this, I have a bunch of questions to ask them to see what their plan is. And remarkably, a lot of these people have no plan, and I don't really want to waste people's money. So unlike most people, I go through a process to tell them whether it's really worth it for me to get involved or not, or at least give them the information to help them make this decision. And, I really talk to them, and what women, when they get into this, they really don't even have any plan of what kind of content they're going to produce. They have no plan getting in, and you need a plan when you're starting your account of what you're going to do, what type of material you're going to make, how often you're going to post, what your goals are, how many subscribers you want to get, blah, blah, blah. They kind of figure they're going to do this, and it's just going to magically happen. And sort of like newsflash here, it's very difficult, especially now, it's extremely difficult to get started in that OnlyFans universe, and even more so if you don't have a plan, if you don't have a big social following. So you have to sit down a little bit and figure out what you're going to do, what type of content you want to make, or if you've been making some, do you want to make that similar kind of thing and make it better, or are you branching out to do different kinds of stuff? So I think before you even go out and approach any type of photographer, you need to know what you want to produce for this account, what your character or your role is going to be on there. And so that way, when you contact someone, you can tell them, I want to do stuff like X, Y, and Z. And then that way the photographer is making the judgment based on your plan, whether it's worth it for them or whether they want to get involved or not. Because like I said, usually when people contact me, whether it's an email or something, I'm just starting an OnlyFans account and I want to make some pictures. I'm like, well, what kind of pictures? Like, I don't know. I thought you would figure it out. Not a good answer. Really give me a lot of faith in that you know what you're doing there without any type of a plan. So you need to come up with a plan. And then, for those of you who don't like hang out on OnlyFans or see OnlyFans feeds, let me tell you, it ain't really what you think. Usually what people are posting on their OnlyFans feeds, like their public feeds, isn't any different than what you used to see on Instagram like a couple years ago before Instagram put the big AI crackdown on lingerie photos. That's all it is on the public feeds. It's nothing that wasn't on Instagram a couple of years ago. So if you think it's just like this crazy stuff going on, you're all wrong. And most women who go on OnlyFans and want to create an account, they're not even posting anything extreme. It is just lingerie photos. And for the most part, that's it. There are, of course, people who branch into other avenues and do other things. But by and large, these are just women who, like, that's their limit. That's what I wanted to do. Something like that. And, so big shocker. You create an OnlyFans account and go on there and subscribe to a few people, what you're going to be seeing in that main feed is really just Instagram 2021 before they crack down on stuff. That's all it is. So it's not really as crazy as you think or suspect for a big majority of the people creating content on there. It's not exactly as wild as you would believe. But when you're starting to do that, you need to kind of figure out what your road is there, what you plan on making, what you plan on doing or not doing, and then picking a plan and sticking with that to become the best creator of X, the best style of whatever it is. And then that way you can go to a photographer and say, yes, I have this plan, and then this is my audience. I've attracted this kind of audience. Or if you're new and you have no audience, the type of audience you want to attract. And then, because everything now, they want you to specialize kind of a little bit, whatever it may be. If you're doing extreme stuff, if you're doing tame stuff, whatever it may be, you can come up with a little bit of a plan. And so how do boudoir photographers fit into this whole situation? Why would you even think of going to one, or should you go to a boudoir photographer? If you're Sally Jones, woke up one day, suddenly think that, boy, I'm going to start an OnlyFans account, but I really need some pro photos to get my account launched. I mean, I'm not going to go into the details of the 8 bazillion things you need to do before that. Here, we're just really talking about if you should hire a photographer or not. And then I think a lot of people turn to women's photographers because they figure, well, they excel at capturing intimate images. They work with a lot of women in lingerie. And maybe what I'm creating isn't too different than what I've seen on somebody's website. So that seems, why people may naturally get attracted to that type of photographer and say, hey, I want to create photos kind of like the ones you're making. I can't do it quite as good. And I thought maybe you can help me out. And I want to get some pro photos for my new or existing OnlyFans account. And one big thing there is you have to be really clear when you are contacting a woman's photographer about what you want to do. And I think we're going to get into a little bit of this down the road. Because everybody needs to be on the same page. That photographer needs to know why you're there, what type of content you want to create. So everyone's kind of working in sync, so just be upfront and tell them, hey, and they may say, no, I'm not comfortable doing this, but we're all right doing this. So you want to build a relationship with that photographer and tell them exactly what you're going in for. Just don't sneak attack, which a lot of women initially, for me, like did the sneak attack and would book, and then they drop this on me, and I'm thinking, they're getting married, and I got my brain in wedding mode or anniversary mode or whatever it is. They're like, oh, no. I got to do pictures of my feet the whole day. I'm like, what? Why didn't you tell me about this? So just let them know what you're doing. Make sure that's all okay. You don't want to show up wanting to produce a certain kind of a thing, and the photographer's like, that's not for me. And then it's too late. You're there. You probably paid a bunch of money, and you're not going to get what you were really after. So I always have that chat with them and about your intentions. And then another thing that can get a little tricky for women is that if you're looking to a traditional boudoir photographer, and I remember most of them are women, that, they may be more targeted towards women getting married. They may be targeting their stuff more towards anniversaries or birthdays. And then really these things in the world of boudoir photography, the way they make these packages and bundles with these crazy photographers is usually there's some kind of deliverable there, like an album or a book or prints or something. And a lot of the packages you may see are really focused on this more gift-centric part of boudoir photography. And then women coming in usually to do, online content don't need that. They don't want that. They may not need really heavy editing on their photos or that kind of airy, cute, beautiful style. It's a little bit of a different kind of a thing. See, so a little bit of a different thing going on there. And then boudoir photographers can be really, really expensive in some cases, with these packages with albums, because albums can be expensive and all the time they got to put in, they're going to pay themselves for their time. So you have to chat with them and say, I don't need a book. I don't need an album, and talk to them that you really just want digital pictures, suitable for whatever it is you're doing, and then say, hey, how many do you need? And you're going to say, I don't know. And then, you got to figure out initially how many photos you want out of this experience, what you're going to use them for. So you have to have some information. I'm going to need 50. I'm going to need 25 really good ones or whatever the case may be. And then, saying I don't really have anything for digitals on your website, but, I really want that. Is there some way you can price some stuff out for me for just some digital photos? They don't need to be heavily edited and blah, blah, blah. Again, have that conversation with them, because you always want to stay on track and stay on budget when you're going in to work with a photographer. And, it's not anything wrong with doing that. There are definitely benefits to working with a professional women's photographer. They take lots of photos of women, and in some cases they're really good at it. There's really bad boudoir photographers out there, so you got to be careful. Like I say, just because someone calls themselves a pro doesn't mean they have any idea of what they're doing or they have any skills or abilities. They could have started 2 weeks ago for all you know, and they're calling themselves a pro. So if you're going to hire a women's photographer, just make sure you're working with someone who's experienced, who's been doing it for a while, and they can make you look really good. And good pictures can potentially attract, a broader audience for you. So there's a benefit there, And as I noted, you just want to be a bit more specialized when you create your content. So just let the photographer know, I'm looking for photos in just lingerie with a look like X, or I plan on doing something like this, or I want a lot of photos of my booty, or whatever the case it may be. Always let them know. And then the big fail for a lot of women who come in is that they do not understand the cost benefit of the whole situation. If you're going in to a photographer, you're probably spending a bunch of money to go and do this. Of course, a lot is a relative thing. And you have to be in the mindset that you're going in to do this to get something in return on it. All right, if I'm hiring a photographer and spending X, I want to make sure I'm getting X plus in terms of subscriptions, or if you're selling, DM messages or whatever you're doing on there, you have to have some plan. All right, this is what I've spent, and I got to get that back. Otherwise, what's the point? What is the friggin' point of going and spending $500 on photos, $300, $800, whatever it may be, if you're not thinking of how you're going to turn that into whatever you spent plus? Whether you're breaking them down into special sets of photos or whatever your thing may be, you have to come up with a plan to recoup that money. And this is where a lot of people fail. They think that, it's good, it's going to make, but they have no plan sort of afterwards that they've spent that money. Think of it as marketing. You're trying to get that back in some way in business, right? Whether it's selling posts, whether it's selling DMs, private messages, whatever it may be, getting tips, whatever it may be, you're trying to come up with a plan to get that back. So going and spending a fortune, if you're just starting your only account, You ain't going to make it back. You ain't got that many followers. You ain't got that many people spending on you yet. So you got to like ease your way kind of into that. And for people who are just starting, I as counterintuitive it may seem to be as a photographer, I often tell them do not spend a lot of money on photos, because some of these people have no social following to bring over there. They're starting from like zero. So why would you go spend $500 or $600 on pictures when you have no subscribers? Why? You're not going to get any of that back. Unless you just happen to have that money to spend and, thinking, all right, in the future, at some point, it'll come back to me. But usually if you're new and don't have an audience, generally speaking, it's not worth it because you're just kind of throwing money away. Except, and maybe in a little bit I'll talk about in a little bit, but you need to have a plan on how that spend is going to benefit you. And that's sort of a very important thing that most people kind of overlook. And I think too, before anybody goes and creates their own, you got to subscribe to a bunch of people that are already existing creators, follow them on Instagram, or also subscribe to their OnlyFans account and see what people are doing. And then I ask people, you follow anybody? Well, no. So again, they have no experience on what's going on there or what anybody is creating. And by and large, most people, first of all, who are very successful, start with big social followings on Instagram, and they bring those people over there. Because in case you don't know, like OnlyFans, they don't have any kind of search. No one's finding you on OnlyFans. You have to get these people and corral them into your page. OnlyFans does nothing for you. So if you're not starting with a big audience, there's not going to be anybody there. But even the people who have built large followings, and I've helped some people with like a lot of followers and a lot of subscribers, pretty much most of the content they are making is just with their cell phone. They're just taking out and making their own smelfies or putting it on a little stand at the end of in their room or whatever, and taking photos of themselves with a cell phone. So there is no need to go out and spend tons and tons of money on professional photography. iPhone pictures are still very much the standard, or making video selfies are pretty much the standard content that's on these platforms. I think it does add authenticity, and Instagram is, or OnlyFans, a little bit about, kind of you're in that personal relationship with your followers, and it's a little bit more authentic, and it's more immediate because you could take photos kind of all the time and just post them. So there's nothing wrong with creating content on your own cell phone or iPhone or Android phone, and that's most of what's posted on there. But what I think is that the approach you need to make is kind of a hybrid approach. You can still use your regular, and this is once you're kind of established and you have an audience, you could still use your regular iPhone photos and for most of your stuff, but you can create special standout sets or pieces, a special set from a professional photographer that you can turn around and then sell. This is my special, and it'll be edited. It will look a little bit better. It's a higher quality photo and a higher quality content, which you could sell. Remember, we were talking about getting that return. So you can mix those in with your regular iPhone content as kind of a bonus, or as kind of something to get the people to purchase that, or a video, 4K video that someone shoots of you, something to get that to purchase is kind of a special thing. So I think the real value of working with that professional boudoir photographer or women's photographer is making special content that is for a special set of this. I've had women come in with a special dress or a special outfit or a special theme for something, and we've done 2 or 3 of these outfits, and they do a bunch of them and spread them out over a couple of weeks to sell this one content while filling in the rest of the days with just their own created content. And that seems to be the hybrid approach that kind of works best there. You're not going full professional photographer. I don't think anybody does that, or there's really any value in spending all that money on just using a pro all the time. You just take your regular selfies or text updates, or and use that to keep the feed active and engage with your people on there, your followers. So some tips for collaborating with your boudoir photographer, if you think that's the way you want to go. And the number one thing, as I noted earlier, is clear communication. Don't book a boudoir photographer and just show up, and don't tell them why you're there. In that consultation process, or when you're contacting them, say, hey, I'm an online creator, want to create a special set of photos. This is my idea. Can you help me out? I plan on bringing these outfits or whatever it may be. I had one woman, I think, who did some stuff with like some sports jerseys. I don't remember. A sports jersey, we're going to theme, and slowly, whatever we're going to do. I think she did something with, she knew she had sports jerseys. I think she would, like on the day of football games, she'd wear the jerseys from each team and post them wearing, and then made the people bet on which team was going to win that day. And if she did, if they guessed right, she'd have a set slowly taking off that team's jersey to show something underneath. So she was getting a little creative with that. So if you have an idea, let the photographer know. And also, tip number 2 is make sure they're able to create kind of a custom package for you, because I noted a lot of women's photographers are geared up to work with brides, and they include wedding albums and lots of retouching, and you may not need that for the type of work you do, so you may be able to pay a bit less. So you ask them, hey, like I said before, I don't need an album, I don't need wall art, I just need some digitals. You don't have to retouch them a lot. What can we do? If it works out, you got a good repeat customer, because I'm going to be coming back 2 times a year or so to work with you. What can we do? And so ask them about that, or if you plan on making some short videos, they may be able to do something for you. So it's something to chat with them. And now most people do bring that up with me. I just had another woman this week telling me sites. I hadn't even heard of these sites. I'm a creator on this, and I'm a creator on that, some content, and so most people who reach out to me bring that up. I don't care, but just bring it up with, whoever you contact, to make sure they're okay with that. And then is a biggie and a little bit of a stickler, but there are photographers out there who don't want their photos resold or used in that manner. And so what I would say is to them is, I'm going to be taking these photos and I'm going to be selling them to my followers. You may get some pushback from some photographers because they don't want their content to be resold. So don't go with them. But again, this should come up in that consultation, and pretty much anyone coming to you from online creating would know exactly what those photos are going to be used for, and they're going to be resold. So just run that by them and make sure they're okay with that. And don't be shocked if someone says, well, I don't want my photos resold. And it's true, because technically, and I'm not going to go down the whole thing of commercial use, reselling, commercial use, photographers are used to getting a cut of that action, or licensing photos, and there's a whole thing there. The universe has changed a little bit, but you could run into some photographers who don't want those photos to be used in that manner, or to be resold. So just let them know what you plan on doing with them. So that way, again, you don't get into a session and find out you're not getting the material, or they're not going to create the stuff, or let's say making you sign something that says you cannot resell these or you can't use them online, or you can't use them on adult sites, or you can't use them here, because you will have photographers, again, with restrictions and won't want you to do that. So that was just kind of like a brief overview. I mean, this is something that really gets pretty involved and pretty detailed. I just wanted to get into it kind of like briefly. So as our question was asking, should you hire or should you book a woman's photographer to work on your OnlyFans content? Maybe. Depends on your situation. If you're new, I don't know if it's necessarily cost benefit there. with the exception of if you need a nice header photo, or they can make a header for you, you want a nice profile photo, anything better than you can do. Because remember, that's your first impression. People see that stuff, and you want them to get onto your page. But I don't know if there's a lot of value, especially if you don't have a big following or if you're new. Spending a lot of money with a professional photographer is going to boost your account in any way, because there's no one there yet for you to sell those photos to. So you're spending a lot of money and you're not really going to have any return on it, unless you happen to have the money there and you're just having fun and you want to hang on to them for the future, or you have some plan that you've come up with. So it can be worth it. I think it's more worth it for people who are established, who have a following, and more importantly, who have a plan on how they're going to get a return on that investment. It's costing me X to make these videos, and they're cute, but I know I'm going to be able to sell at least, this many of them for X amount of dollars, so I'm going to start to recoup some of that money, because it's all about the return. And if you're not thinking about that, you're just throwing money away and not having a plan. And as I said, a lot of people who get involved in being an online creator don't really have any plan. They're just kind of winging it and thinking, oh, it's going to be so simple. It ain't that simple. There's some work that really is involved in that. And so that's what I've learned. And I've always helped people out who have come to me. I really don't want to get too involved in people's accounts, but I would say to them, exactly, what is your plan? Like I said, most of them, I don't know, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna get rich. That's how it works. So have a bit of a plan, understand your cost benefits there. Always chat with the photographer about the type of content that you're going to be making. Don't show up and expect to do something super explicit and get thrown out of the photographer studio. I really don't think that there are going to be a lot of boudoir photographers out there comfortable doing super explicit stuff, especially if they don't know you're in it. Remember, most of these photographers are women. There's these lefty woke photographers who want no part of that. So they may not even want you to come in, even if you mention kind of OnlyFans. So I don't think you're going to be finding a lot of people who are going to do like super explicit stuff. So I would stick with something, lingerie, tamer stuff, but be upfront with them. Talk about the pricing. Let them know you just want the digitals. Make sure everyone's okay and comfortable. And it's worth it to have those conversations up front. Don't just book blind and have the photographer think you're coming in for an anniversary present, and then when you show up, suddenly you're in, well, can I have a bunch of pictures of my feet? They'll be like, well, why? What? You didn't tell me about this. I wish I knew. And that's the biggest thing. So you can do it. You have to do it strategically. You have to chat with them, have a plan, figure out how you're going to get your money back. And I think it can be worth it. You need good profile photos, good header photo, good profile image. And you could certainly use high quality content to post on your socials, like Instagram or something, although you can Instagram put the kibosh like on lingerie photos, so you can't really post that stuff anymore. So you've seen a lot of those creators now on Instagram just doing regular content now. With the clothes try-on thing is big. I don't know why the here's me in my underwear, which they don't allow anymore, has turned into here's me trying on an outfit. So for some reason they're okay with women trying on outfits but not making content just in underwear. So a lot of those creators have pivoted to this is my outfit, where they still will let you post a bathing suit photo in some instances, which is weird to me. You can't post underwear, but a bathing suit is okay. What the hell is the difference? I don't know. But they're AI. Remember, all these woke AIs are very anti-women. So you have to post more conservative stuff now on Instagram. A lot of women have gone through this outfit change thing now. That's the kind of material they're posting, or just regular portraits. So just make sure you're getting stuff that you can use, that's not going to get you blocked at Instagram or wherever you're posting them. And you need to chat, I think, with somebody who has experience in this whole field, and find someone who will take time to walk you through it a bit. And especially if they worked with other OnlyFans creators, they may be able to tell you some of the things that worked from people, maybe things that didn't work. and give you a little bit of feedback there, which can really save you a lot of flopping around and hit or miss kind of stuff. So you don't know. You may run into somebody who can be really sort of helpful and point you in the right direction. That's at least what I try to do when I bump into somebody. I don't like to say interrogate, but I chat with them about, like I said, their plan, what they've done so far, and try to steer them in the right direction. And sometimes I didn't know that. So at least you can, I think they appreciate that, because the more knowledge again I can give somebody, I just want to get them back, get them working material, and they're like, wow, we did this photos and I sold them for X, and now I want to come back and do some more. Again, just casting that line out there and with no plan doesn't really work so great. So there you go. That's our little show for today. This will be the last show of this year, and I want to thank everybody for listening and all of our 40-something episodes that we did this year. It was a lot of fun for me to do. It takes a lot of time to put this together, but again, it's really, I enjoy helping people, helping them make smart decisions when it comes to finding a boudoir photographer. It's been fun for me to do, and literally there are hundreds of questions we can go through and answer to help women in boudoir photography, because I really, really hate to hear, and like I mentioned, the horror stories and all of the stories of women wanting to come in and find a women's photographer and things going horribly wrong for them. Not necessarily physically, but just unsmooth, bad photos, bad experiences, and it happens a lot more than you think. So really, this show comes from a place of hearing way too much of that, and then women not realizing that so many bad photographers are out there. And this was just really to give people a little bit more information to help them make these smart decisions so they can avoid these not great photographers. So it's been fun for me to do. Hopefully we can help out. Anybody we can save from walking into a nightmare is a win in my book. And I love hearing from the listeners. And as always, any questions, you can email me that you want to feature on the show, or any questions just in general about women's photography. I'm happy to help you out and answer those for you. And I'm having a lot of fun. So good year. We're going to keep going strong into next year. And like I said, hopefully we're going to be on the rebound. Economy will get better. Everything will kind of get better. And there we are. So we're just going to take it show by show. So that's all I got for you this week. And appreciate everybody. And I will see you in 2025. Bye-bye.